Hello everybody and welcome back. Finally, I'm back with my co-star, Lily, my cat. Hi. And I'm finally back. I'm finally back to make, well, I'm not going to say that I'm back to making videos because I said that last time. That was about a month and a half ago. And now I'm back again, but a lot of stuff has happened. Might see the same book here. I've actually finished this and the next one in the series I'm currently on. A Dance with Dragons, which is book 5, and we now know that book 6 isn't coming out for who knows how long. I've also gotten all new pop figures. I have Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite, Ghost, Jon Snow, and Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. I got some new books. I have Awake in the Dark by Roger Ebert, which is a collection of reviews and essays and interviews and stuff. Really cool stuff. And I have the Silmarillion, which is basically the history of Middle-earth, which is the Lord of the Rings universe. And I have a little miniature Lily next to my book. So, what movie are we talking about today? It's been a while, so you probably don't remember it unless you've recently watched my video, in which case, thank you, I appreciate the support. Today we're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, a movie that I sincerely hope all of you have seen at this point, because it really is a classic action-adventure film. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, very talented director. We've talked about him before in our review for Saving Private Ryan, and it stars Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, John Rhys Davies, Paul Freeman, and Denholm Elliot, and it's pretty much a perfect adventure movie. You probably know that because you've probably seen Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is a classic amongst all of cinema, basically. Film buffs love it, and just people that enjoy being entertained by movies love Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. It's a really accessible film, it's fun, and it's when action movies were still allowed to have decent action in them. You know, the days of Raiders and Die Hard and Terminator and Alien, all that good stuff. Alien, not really, but Aliens, great action film. So, what is the story to Raiders of the Lost Ark in case you're not familiar with it? Well, starts out with no dialogue, just people walking in the jungle in South America. They're walking around, you see this guy, he's got a bullwhip and a fedora, he looks really cool. It's Han Solo, but in the 1940s, because it's the same actor. He's walking around, he picks up a map, he's, you know, what are you doing over there? My cat's trying to escape. So, basically, he's trying to fit these map pieces together, and he's like, alright, the temple's over here. And there's this guy, Zepito, who's played by Alfred Molina in his first ever feature film role. He later went on to play Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. Widely considered one of the best superhero films ever. So, little fact for you there, this was his first movie. So, he's talking about how one of his rivals used to go exploring in this area, and that when he found this temple, he died here. So, this is Indiana Jones's big, you know, big task that he has to do. He's going to beat his rival by exploring this temple. He's an archaeologist, by the way. So, he goes in there, he finds the idol, and we've all seen the famous scene, you know, he has the idol, it's on the pillar, he's got the bag of sand, and he's got to swap them really fast, and then it sinks down. You have the big boulder chase, you know, throw me the idol, I'll throw you the whip. You've all probably heard of this scene. All great stuff, really well done, really well directed, really well acted. It's just good. Then we go back to the university where we get, you know, some witty back and forth between him and one of his students. It's more visual than actual dialogue. There is no dialogue in the scene. Exchange between the two of them. But then we meet Marcus Brody, played by Domhall Gleeson. He's kind of like a lovable idiot in a way, except he's not an idiot. He's a university professor, so he can't be that stupid. But he's kind of naive and ignorant to this whole world of archaeology. He doesn't really understand it. And they talk, and then he says, you know, oh, Dr. Jones, you know, there's these two guys from the government, and they're here to see you. They want to talk to you about something. So Indiana Jones learns that these people, the Nazis, are looking for the Ark of the Covenant, which, if you aren't familiar, it is a big golden chest where the tablets that the Ten Commandments were written on were stored. So, the Nazis are looking for this, because apparently Hitler's become obsessed with the occult. He wants to find these religious artifacts. But first they need the headpiece to the Staff of Ra. And Indiana Jones just happens to know who has this headpiece. And that is his ex-lover relationship person, Marion Ravenwood, played by Karen Allen. And I'm going to stop telling you what happens from there. It's this big Globe-Trotting Adventure. They go to the Middle East. They're in Cairo. They're, at dig sites. Great action scenes, great chase scenes, good dialogue scenes. It's all very, very good. So now we get to the discussion bit of the review. So I'm going to move my Lamborghini, my new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive here in the Hollywood Hills. If you don't get that reference, you should probably count yourself lucky. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 4 stars, so this is a perfect movie according to Leonard. It's actually the first 4-star film I think we've seen from him. Would not surprise me if it was, actually. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark. A roller coaster ride of a movie, rekindling the spirit of Saturday matinee serials, but outdoing them for genuine thrills and chills. Ford plays Indiana Jones, an archaeologist adventurer who goes globe-trotting in search of a unique religious artifact and runs into blood-curdling danger every step of the way. Perhaps a bit too much at times, but why carp? Conceived by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas with Philip Kaufman, scripted by Lawrence Kasdan. Visual effects, editing, sound effects, editing, and art direction, set direction all earned Oscars. Actually didn't know that. Followed by 3 Indiana Jones films and a TV series, The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, Panavision, rated PG. By the way, this movie would be PG-13 or R if it came out today. Alright, so, Leonard loved it. By the way, Lamborghini. You can just stay right there. So, what's there really to talk about? Everything that he said I agree with, and I know your mind is blown. I agree with Leonard Maltin, but it's really, there's nothing wrong with this movie. It's a very simple film, but it's still smart at the same time. Fun to watch. Fun to rewatch. I've seen this movie so many times I don't even know. I haven't seen it in a while, though. I kind of want to rewatch it. I'll get to it eventually. So, let's discuss some more stuff. The performances in the film. Harrison Ford, excellent as always. This is the part that he is most well known for. Most people would say it's Han Solo. I think it's Indiana Jones. I think it's a more iconic performance. Not that you could replace any actor as Han Solo or Harrison Ford, or Indiana Jones, but I don't know. I just think that this is a more iconic performance and one that's harder to pull off. I'll talk more about that later. The action sequences, oh my gosh, they're fantastic. This was when action was still fun to watch. There's no shaky cam, there's no rapid cuts and spinning camera. It's just very simply filmed. You can tell what's going on. Yes, there are cuts. It's not, it's not the old boy fight scene in the hallway, or that scene in Daredevil, where it's the continuous take of him just going down the hallway and beating those guys up. Nothing like that. Nothing too fancy. But it's still very well done. It's just him punching some guys, and of course you gotta get to the bit where he's up against the swordsman. The swordsman, he's spinning his sword around. Indiana Jones just pulls out his pistol, bang, shoots him, guy's dead, everyone cheers. Actually not scripted. Harrison Ford was very sick on set, and he's like, I cannot film this action scene today. Can I just shoot the guy? And Spielberg was like, you know what, Harrison, go for it. And we got one of the most well-known scenes of the entire film. So, visual effects. What are my thoughts? I think that they're fantastic for 1981. They're pretty much on the same level as Star Wars, which came out 4 years earlier. And that was just mind-blowing. When people first saw Star Wars, they were like, what is this? These visual effects are amazing. There's ships in space, and there's the Death Star and stuff. This, more simple, not really science fiction. There's elements, not of science fiction, but just supernatural elements that are introduced towards the end of the film. But for the most part, it's grounded in reality as far as an action movie is concerned. So, visual effects are great as well, and as I've previously stated, this is one of the most iconic action films that you will ever see, ever in your life, ever. It's great, and it can't be remade, it can't be replaced, and most of the sequels could be considered unnecessary. Adding on to that, this is my favorite action-adventure film ever. Not my favorite action movie, which I've talked about previously, is Terminator 2 or Mad Max Fury Road, are both really great action films. I love Die Hard as well. Die Hard's an awesome movie. So, a lot of people have been discussing the possibility of a remake starring Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones, and while I like Chris Pratt, I think that he's a really fun actor to watch. I loved him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I liked him in Jurassic World, but he's basically already played Han Solo and Indiana Jones in those movies respectively, and I don't see him being able to do Indiana Jones. It's not that I don't see him being able to play the part of Indiana Jones, it's just I don't see a good Indiana Jones remake being made, even if it's like a sequel reboot. That, I'd be open to it maybe, but the possibility of them making Raiders of the Lost Ark again with a new cast is just not gonna happen. There is no way that they would do that, because it would not be good. Quite simply, I mean, they tried to revitalize the franchise with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Look how that went. That was not good. So, is this movie any good? Absolutely. If you haven't picked up on that by now, this is it's just a fantastic film. I've seen it loads of times. I probably saw it for the first time. I was probably, 7 or 8 years old. Yeah, that ending scarred me as a child, but, I turned out okay. And is it deserving of its placement on the list? Yes, and I'm happy that this was voted up here, because a lot of, real critics would be like, no, it's just another silly action movie, we want art films and stuff like that. Well, art films are great. I've seen a few good ones, mainly Birdman, and I love that movie. You gotta leave room for movies that are just fun to watch, like Terminator 2, like Mad Max Fury Road, which is not in this top 50, but you gotta just leave room for movies that anyone can watch, that everyone can go into and enjoy. And Raiders of the Lost Ark is a perfect example of that. So please, if you haven't seen it, what are you doing with your lives? Please go see Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's really my review for Raiders. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all of your support on these videos, continuing to watch them while I'm not uploading. I know I need to start doing that, but I'm going to this thing called school, and it takes up most of my time, so sorry about that. But just some stuff I want to talk about before I go. I am, as I said, reading A Song of Ice and Fire, and I have read this one. I finished this one on you'll pretend you didn't see that. I finished this on New Year's Eve, and then I started A Feast for Crows, which is actually what you are standing on right now. I finished A Feast for Crows, which was really good. I read that in a week. No biggie. And I have not started A Dance with Dragons yet. I've been doing school and stuff. I got The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I started reading, and then I said I want to continue reading A Song of Ice and Fire, so I put that down, picked up A Feast for Crows, and the rest. I already told you. I've been playing a lot of Just Cause 3, a lot of Black Ops 3, quality video games. If you have not played them, I would recommend it if that's the kind of stuff that you're into. I got the full Walking Dead Compendium 1, which is absolutely massive. It weighs about as much as Lily, who's not here anymore, but if she was, you could compare them. It's a heavy novel. Another thing I got, I've been keeping behind me because it's absolutely massive, is A World of Ice and Fire, which is basically the wiki of Ice and Fire condensed into a book. And it's got lots of cool artwork, if I can find some for you. Yeah, there's some art in there. There's some awesome pictures. Like, there's one of the Iron Throne. I'm not going to just spend my time looking for it, but it looks really cool. Really good book. A World of Ice and Fire. Or The World of Ice and Fire. I've not really read it much because I've been reading the actual series itself. But, if you're really into A Song of Ice and Fire, I would recommend it. Another thing that you saw somewhere earlier, and talked about that earlier, I actually got another book called I Lost It at the Movies by Pauline Kael. I've actually never heard of her before, but my cousin sent me her book along with this one by Roger Ebert, who I've referenced before in my reviews. He's a great critic, and so far her stuff is really good as well. Some movies I've seen recently, I saw The Hateful Eight in theaters, which was fantastic. Go see it if you like Quentin Tarantino and lots of Western dialogue and violence. All good stuff. And I got 2 new posters, speaking of Quentin Tarantino. Pulp Fiction, awesome movie. You will definitely see me talk about that in the future because it's pretty high up on the list. And The Usual Suspects, another great film. Bryan Singer directed it. He's directing the X-Men films now. Really looking forward to X-Men Apocalypse. Looks really good so far. That's also on this list. You'll see me reviewing that sooner than you will Pulp Fiction. But that's really all I have to talk about. So if you're still here and haven't left already, thank you for staying and watching, and I hope to see you all very soon in my next review, whenever that may be. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. It's gonna be awkward silence right now. There we go.